essentially improved one upon the other, right? So, we had the FireWire A camera, a very small IDS, AVT, Basler. There were a lot of 29 by 29 solutions. I'm bringing this up for two reasons. One of them is that I'm going to make some claims about the Blackfly camera, and this is part of an evolution. Things sort of get better, and one manufacturer improves things and another one improves, and so on. So I don't want to say, oh, the Blackfly is the best camera and it'll be the best camera forever. In fact, that's probably not the case. We'll probably bring up even better camera in 2 years from now. But it is an evolution. That's one point. The second point is that through this market competition and continuous improvement, we've actually seen a creation of a standard which has just sort of evolved without any kind of governing body actually creating the standard itself. So the form factor, the GPIO, the mounting holes, and all these kinds of things are essentially standardized without somebody actually governing the standard itself. So this is 2000s, and then today we have the Blackfly camera. So we're making the claim that this is the world's smallest PoE GigE camera, and it's starting at a very nice price of $299, which has been seen before, but you have to see the imaging performance of the camera in order to judge and see whether this is actually a revolution and improvement in pricing or not. So we'll get to that eventually. So the sensors, it's a very interesting sensor lineup because we have 0.5 megapixel and 0.9 megapixel CCDs in 3rd-inch format. So very common resolution is VGA, so 0.3, and you have XGA, which is 0.8. Sony is now going up in terms of number of pixels, but is keeping the optical form factor the same. And we're also offering 1/1.8, 1.3 megapixel global shutter CMOS sensor that runs at 60 frames per second. And similar to the previous presentation, there are more sensors coming, and we're happy to talk to you about your needs. So, size. Blackfly is world's smallest 29 by 29 millimeter camera, and it's really the length that differentiates it. And the next smallest competitor is 11 millimeters longer. And why is this important? It's important because you can basically fit the Blackfly into any design that uses 29 by 29 millimeter cross sections, regardless of how long your camera is, because most cameras that are on the market are 30 millimeters long, and those are the traditional analog cameras that are of that length. And a lot of the other cameras are actually a fair bit longer. Now the next spec is a little bit different, and I have a Blackfly here, and when I first picked it up, I basically didn't think this was a functioning camera. Okay, it's extremely light. And we're making a claim that this is actually world's lightest enclosed GigE camera. So it weighs only 38 grams. And the next competing camera, which is in a similar form factor, weighs anywhere between 61 and 90 grams. And you're happy to come and hold this camera after the presentation and see what I'm talking about. So why is this important? It's important because in a lot of semiconductor and electronics assembly applications, the cameras are moving, and the basically control of the camera motion is a lot easier if you're not moving a lot of weight around. Similarly, there are other applications, like whether you have an airborne device, or you have a handheld device, or you have a head-mounted device or something like that, it helps to have a lighter camera as well. Moving right along. As I mentioned already, the camera has standard mounting points, so there's 3 M3 holes at the bottom of the camera, and there are also 4 M2 holes, which are very standard. You'll find them in all 29 by 29 sugar cube cameras. And one other thing that I should point out is, which is a little bit different than most cameras out there, Blackfly and also Fleet 2, Fleet 3s have also 2 mounting holes at the top as well. So why is this important? Because it helps with the mechanical integration of the camera into a standard form factor and standard designs that we have. Okay, efficiency. So, we're also making a claim that 1.3 megapixel, I'm being very careful here, the 1.3 megapixel version of the Blackfly camera is actually the lowest power consumption camera, PoE camera, available in the market today. So the actual specs is actually less than 2 watts of power that is being consumed by the camera when it's running at full frame rate. And the next competition, if you were to look at the same sensor, in the same form factor, in the same PoE interface, you will find the cameras running at about 2.7 up to 3 watts. So, and Blackfly can also be powered with external GPIO. So why is this important? Well, with less power, you have less heat, and with less heat, you have better image performance, and you also have less thermal expansion to worry about. So any kind of thermodynamics that you have in your system that you have to worry about if your camera gets really hot. And if the camera is quite small, they do get hot if they have a lot of power consumption. That is something, as somebody who's designing an imaging system, you have to worry about. Okay. Now, this is also interesting, and this is part of the evolution that I was talking about. The connector, the GPIO connector that PoE is traditionally used in our cameras, it used slightly different configurations, slightly different pinout, but basically, given that we find that there's kind of a standardization going on in the market, we're offering 2 opto-isolated inputs, one opto-isolated input and 1 opto-isolated output on a 6-pin Hirosa connector. And again, this is in order to allow easy integration of the Blackfly into existing and new imaging systems. Now, even though it's so small and has so little power, consumes so little power, and is so light, it has a lot of functionality. So we have not really sacrificed any of the functionality of the camera itself. So it's GigE Vision compliant. It has 16 megabytes of frame buffer. It has onboard color processing with all the bells and whistles of things like hue, saturation, gamma, lookup tables, and things like that. Pixel binning, decimations, regions of interest. The camera does all of that. But I also do want to point out that it has status monitoring. And for somebody who actually has to check whether the camera is working, or you're assembling, on your assembly line where you're actually building your imaging system, when you power up the camera, there's an LED to tell you that the camera is actually getting power. The camera also has temperature, voltage, and current sensors in the camera itself, so you can get an idea of how much power it's really consuming and what impact that power consumption is having on the heat within the camera. So, with extensive camera functionality, it's easy to integrate the camera into your imaging solutions. Now I'm going to get to the Blackfly models, and I'll start with the one that is going to be introduced very shortly. It's going to be within a month or so. And it's the 1.3 megapixel version, which I already mentioned is shipping at 299 euros. And you may have noticed in our advertising that it says starting at 299. And so when our product group actually came out with the pricing for the 0.5 and 0.9 megapixel cameras, I was quite surprised because they were actually less than $299. So the 0.9 is going to sell at $279, and 0.5 megapixel with 50 frames per second is going to sell at basically 250 euros, which is, I thought, an excellent price. And it was sort of funny because it starts at $299 and it goes down. So I thought that was interesting. Now don't expect all the models to keep going down, but certainly I think that this pricing is going to be quite attractive for a lot of people. Now, the other point to make is that I wouldn't say it's not hard to make a camera that is inexpensive. Okay, there's lots of people who can advertise a camera that is inexpensive. The issue is that when there is a lot of demand out there and you're putting out an inexpensive camera, you have to make sure that you have capabilities to meet the demand and build a high quality product that is reliable and will meet the customer's needs. So the next slide really talks about PoE's experience and capabilities. So we've been in business for 15 years. We have 160 employees. We have a capacity of more than 120,000 cameras that we can build per year. We have in-house electronic assembly, which is very important because you can actually control the quality of the product that is being built, as well as the quality of the components that are being placed onto the electronics that you're building. And we also do 100% inspection. And all of this is done at the prices that I just presented. Finally, we have exceptional customer service and support, and we offer a 3-year warranty on a €249 Euro camera. So, putting it all together, there's clear demand for cameras like what I just described. We have excellent imaging. We have the smallest size, lightest weight, power over Ethernet with GigE Vision compliance, low power consumption, standard mounting and GPIO, extensive camera functionality, world-class manufacturing and service, and best price starting at $299 and going down. That makes the Blackfly. Thank you very much, and come visit us at the booth 1B42. Thank you.